I don't know if you know the Moscow Underground, but it is one of the more spectacular sights around the city. And I loved traveling on the metro, on the Underground, partly because almost every station you got out was a joy. Um, and and it was so, the signage was so clear, the trains were so quick, and so on. Now, Lieutenant General Igor Kirillov, head of the Russia's radiation, chemical, and biological defense troops, um, and his assistant have been killed by a bomb that was hidden in a scooter and that was detonated near the Ryazinsky Prospect station. And this, I'm afraid, is one of the duller stations, and it was one of the later stations to be added to the original set of stations in the metro. But it is dull, and my heart rather sank every time my train stopped there. And I have been there. I know where this incident took place. Approximately 6 o'clock in the morning yesterday, an improvised explosive device concealed within this electric scooter detonated outside the Ryazansky Prospect station in what is really a residential area. The explosion killed Kirillov and his aide, a fellow called Ilya. We don't know his second name. Damaged some nearby buildings, shattering windows across 3 floors. No one else was hurt. The bomb is estimated to have had an explosive power equivalent to 200 grams of TNT, enough to leave the site visibly damaged. And the attack is particularly striking for its precision and its audacity. Kirillov was targeted as he exited the building, a clear indication of detailed planning, surveillance, and possibly insider knowledge. And the investigative committee, Russia's premier agency for major crimes, has launched a criminal probe, though much remains speculative. Kirillov was not an ordinary general. As the head of Russia's radiation, chemical, and biological defense troops, he was a key figure in Moscow's military hierarchy, and I presume had a role in the planning for the Salisbury attacks. His role extended well beyond defense logistics to public disinformation campaigns, accusing Ukraine, for example, of plotting to use chemical weapons and even designing drones to deploy disease-carrying insects. For these actions, Kirillov was sanctioned by the UK in October, labelled a propagandist and a key facilitator of alleged Russian chemical weapons deployment across Ukraine. His death comes just a day after Ukraine's SBU issued a warrant accusing him of war crimes, including the deployment of banned chemical agents like chloropicrin. And according to the SBU, his forces were responsible for over 4,800 recorded uses of chemical munitions against Ukrainian troops since the war began. Although nobody has claimed responsibility, the attack bears the hallmark of Ukraine's covert operations, and Ukrainian intelligence has long been suspected of targeting people in Russia of these targeted strikes, including high-profile assassinations and sabotage. And the explosion's precision, the choice of target, the timing, just days after the SBU warrant, add weight to the theories of Ukrainian government involvement, of Ukrainian troop involvement of a Ukrainian assassin. Ukraine's spy agencies rarely take direct credit for these attacks, likely to maintain plausible deniability. However, their attacks aim to disrupt Moscow's war machinery and demoralize its leadership. And the killing of Kirillov, a prominent military figure accused of war crimes, sends a clear message to other Kremlin officials: no one is untouchable. The scooter bombing is a blow not only to Russia's military hierarchy, but also to its image of security. It starkly demonstrates the reach of its adversaries and the Kremlin's inability to protect even high-ranking figures within the capital. This follows a series of similar incidents from car bombings to drone strikes, suggesting that Moscow is increasingly vulnerable to internal and external threats. And just because people don't say things in Moscow because they're too terrified of the consequences of speaking out does not mean that they support the Putin regime and what Putin is doing in Ukraine. It also undermines the narrative of invincibility that Putin's regime seeks to project. If such an attack can occur in the heart of Russia, how secure can ordinary Russians feel? Supporting the Ukraine action, therefore, comes at a price, and that's the message which is being put forward. Actively involved in plotting the Ukraine attacks comes at a price. Kirillov's death represents more than just a tragic loss of life. It underscores the multifaceted nature of modern warfare. From the use of banned chemical agents to targeted assassinations, the war in Ukraine has pushed conventional boundaries. It's a war fought on battlefields through propaganda and increasingly in the shadows of covert operations. Whether this attack ultimately strengthens Ukraine's resolve or triggers harsher retaliation from Moscow remains to be seen. But one thing is clear: the conflict is escalating, and its consequences are reverberating far beyond the front lines. The death of Lieutenant General Kirillov raises profound questions about the lengths to which adversaries will now go in a war where the rules are continually being rewritten. It serves as a chilling reminder of how this conflict is reshaping the accepted norms of conflict and the personal cost borne by those caught in the crossfire.